This is the Reviewing Network Live, a weekly stream of consciousness recording session where I sit back with you folks out there, talk about some of the big news stories from the past week, and some other things I found that might be of amusement to you out there. I think you might get a kick out of it. Now, these are more like audio podcasts and are much longer than my usual videos and are also for the most part unedited and will contain some foul language. So, if you're easily offended by that, I advise you to maybe step back a bit, maybe go somewhere else. But hey, if you're up to the challenge, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks. And for the 71st time ever, we are alive. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Reviewing Network Live. And happy Sunday, everybody. Happy second Sunday of 2025. The weekend is almost over, and that means a new week is about to begin. And obviously, it was a very busy week in the world of Hollywood, and not for the reasons you would think. Not because there was a big developing, big project in the works or something like that. No, because of everything that's been going on with the wildfires and all that. Los Angeles basically is burning right now, and of course, as I said before in the NFL Network video, we're all thinking about you people down there in Hollywood, right in California right now, because yeah, that's pretty brutal right now. So, yeah. But like I said, because of that, there isn't a whole lot of big news stories going on right now in terms of big projects getting announced, anything major in terms of like new news stories of interest to bring up here, except for, of course, what's going on in California right now with the wildfires and all that. So, what is the subject of this episode going to be about then? If we're not going to talk about the news stories of the week, let's talk about the year itself, because the year is just getting started, and and next week we'll start to get in some of the big new movies of the year, the movies that the studios believe in. So we'll talk about my most anticipated movies for 2025 in just a minute. But of course, we got to talk about the weekend box office overall. Not an eventful box office. Of course, the holiday movies are still overlapping over the competition, but there is a new number one this weekend. A film that I don't think anybody really thought was going to be a big hit, but lo and behold, there it is. But we'll talk about that as we move along here. But let's start with number 5 this week, and that is, of course, Disney's Moana 2, which has been hovering around there in the top 5. $6.5 million brought in this weekend, dropping 47% from last weekend, bringing its 7-week gross up to $434.8 million domestically. It's closing in on $1 billion worldwide, $989.7 million. Number 9 on my worst movies of the year list, if you saw that yesterday over on the main channel, yeah, this made it into the bottom 10 list, mostly because of the way that, not because of the movie itself, but just because of the fact that the songwriters and Dwayne Johnson had to be complete and utter assholes about it, thinking that they created this masterpiece when you made a movie that was cut down from a television series and tried to sell it as a sequel. So that's not something to really be that excited about. And to say that, and you get mad at people because they hate the fact that your songs overall are much lesser compared to the Lin-Manuel Miranda songs from the original Moana. Yeah, that's nothing to really get that excited about. So that's why that's kind of in my worst of the year list overall. But if you want to see my full list, go check it out on the main channel. But yeah, Moana 2 still hovering around over there, 7 weeks there. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to number 4 this week, and that is Nosferatu, Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. Hanging in there, $6.8 million, bringing its percentage drop to 48%, and its 3-week total up to $81.8 million, which, if you include worldwide numbers, is already over $135 million, which, for an R-rated movie that opened up on Christmas, it is holding up a lot better than people let on. And we've got the Oscar nominations coming up at the end of the week, and it'll be very interesting to see if this gets consideration for the Academy Awards, because it's clearly a big hit overall. It's making a ton of money. It made back its budget already, and has it gotten any other nominations in particular? It's got a lot of nominations overall, but like I don't see anything for the Golden Globes. But the Critics' Choice Awards, it has some nominations. But I'm wondering how good it will do with the Oscars. It could do well, but in terms of nominations, but I don't know if it's going to win anything overall. But we'll wait to see what happens. They're getting announced next Sunday, of course, because of it was originally supposed to be announced on Friday, but Obviously, with what's going on in Los Angeles, they pushed those back to being announced next Sunday. So we'll find out next Sunday if it gets nominated or not. One movie that probably won't get nominated is the number 3 movie this week, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, dropping down from 2 to 3, bringing in $11 million even this week to a 48.5% drop-off, $204.5 million after 4 weeks, crossing over the $200 million mark, obviously. Worldwide gross, it's up to $384 million worldwide, but more importantly, it's at $200 million domestically, which I think, if it's not already at the same number as Sonic the Hedgehog 2, it's pretty close. I think it's about, let me see here. Let's see. Oh, it's over it, actually. This is now the, okay, it's okay. It is now officially the highest grossing video game movie adaptation. That's even wrong, too, because the Super Mario Brothers movie came out last year, 2 years ago, was the big hit there, so it is still one of the highest grossing video game movie adaptations. It's the highest grossing of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie films, I should say. Not the highest grossing video game movie adaptation of all time, but then again, but with all that said, this thing's done gangbusters. Everyone expected it to do so. It's a massive hit. Of course, we're getting the 4th film coming out, and yeah, I can't wait to see what they do there with it. And so, number 2 this week, Mufasa the Lion King, which, you know, everyone was saying that it was dead on arrival, and it's been hanging on in there in the last couple of weeks, in the weeks since it's come out. After Christmas, it's really kind of hung in there. $13.2 million, 43.7% drop-off from last week, bringing its 4-week total up to $188.7 million. Worldwide, it's at $539 million, so it's closing in on that $200 million budget that it has. So it's not the big hit, the big hit the live-action Lion King was a few years ago, but I think it's much more successful than I think that most people were expecting it to be. Everyone was expecting Sonic the Hedgehog to just clean that out, but no, people are still going to see it, and rightfully so. It's actually a decent film, not a great film, but I like it. I thought it was much better than people let on overall, but yeah, we've kind of talked about that one already. Let's get to the number 1 movie, which really shocked the hell out of me. I did not think that this was going to do very well, but then again, when you market yourself in front of football games, both NFL and college football and other things, and people will go and see it. Den of Thieves 2 Pantera. Yeah, remember Den of Thieves, that movie that came out back in 2018 with Gerard Butler, and also kind of came and went, and nobody really thought that they needed to see another movie based off of it? Well, I guess someone at Lionsgate said, yes, we need to see another one of these, and so that one paid off big time. I'm trying to see what the original film did. And, okay, I guess maybe it did okay business. It brought in $80 million worldwide, $44 million domestically for the original film, and, I mean, I never heard anybody ever say, you know what's great? Den of Thieves. Nobody has ever said that in their lives, but apparently, no. Apparently, I don't need to hear anybody say that, because the movie became a big hit, and the sequel became a big hit too, bringing in $15.5 million domestically. Not a big budgeted movie either. $40 million. It's already made back half that budget with $20.5 million worldwide. So it's a profitable movie, and I think it's mostly just because of the fact that there isn't a whole lot of competition there to really take over. And I guess, you know, people needed an adult movie to go see, and, you know, this was the film that came out, and actually it didn't get bad reviews either. It's got like a 58 on Rotten Tomatoes right now, and Metacritic has it at CinemaScore has it like a B+, which is actually not that bad. So I guess there is more of an audience for this movie than I thought there was going to be. And there were a couple of other new releases that came out this weekend, but none of them really made a lasting impact overall. Probably the one that is really going to be talked about the most in terms of not doing well at all is Better Man, which is the movie, of course, where you have, it's Robbie Williams' biopic where it's his life story, but it's being told as him as a monkey, and it just seemed like a crazy, bizarre idea that I thought would be kind of cool, and it's apparently gotten a lot of good reviews. But good reviews aren't going to sell it when the movie barely makes $1 million at the box office. This opened up in wide release this weekend, and yeah, it's a box office failure. It is, not just here in America, but it's also failing to perform in Robbie Williams' home in the United Kingdom. It's actually not doing well at all. It brought in 1.1 million. It only brought in $1 million this weekend here in the States, but worldwide it's up to $10 million. This thing cost $110 million to make, so yeah, that's not a good sign going forward in terms of the box office success. But the film has done pretty good review-wise. I mean, it's got an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes, 77 on Metacritic. Post-Track has it at like an 83% positive score, and 63% say they were definitely recommended. And, it's not a bad... It doesn't seem like it's a bad movie overall. It just seems like too much of a bizarre idea that I think people are kind of steering away from it, but this thing could potentially have a cult following over the years, especially with the critical reviews it's gotten for it. I really want to see it, though. I think it's such a crazy, bizarre idea. It could possibly work. My only trepidation is not even with the monkey itself. It's the director, Michael Gracie, who the last thing he directed was The Greatest Showman, and I did not like that movie at all. I like the music in that movie, but not the movie itself. I thought the movie was pretty bland and mediocre, but the soundtrack was pretty amazing. But this looks incredibly crazy and insane that I kind of want to see it at some point. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it for the Talking About the Movie show or not, but it's one I definitely want to go and check out at some point. And hopefully, if I don't get to see it through in theaters, I'll definitely check it out when it streams on Paramount Plus and have a review for it on the site, because it's one I want. It's actually one I was real looking forward to checking out and seeing, but not a good sign for the box office for Better Man if it's not making, if even in his home country it's not playing well at all. That's not a good sign. But some Oscar contenders are making some money overall. Complete Unknown is up to $50 million after 3 weeks of release. Baby Girl's up to $21 million. What's Game Changer? Game Changer is one of the new releases in here. It doesn't look, it's not a Oscar contender. I think it's another one of those Bollywood movies, but The Last Showgirl, the Pam Anderson movie, opened up wide this weekend to about $1.4 million in about 870 theaters. The Brutalist is doing very well. Could be an Oscar contender going forward. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here, and it does not look like it. But, yeah. But I'm sure those numbers are definitely going to change as we get to the nominations coming out next week, which as of right now, they are looking like they're still going to be released on Sunday, but that could change, of course, with the fire still going on. But we'll wait to see what happens. We'll wait to see what happens on that front. But so that's the weekend box office as a whole here. Speaking of the movies of 2025, though, let's just go ahead and delve into the main subject of this week's episode, and that is my most anticipated movies for 2025. So in a way, we're kind of already getting into some of the really good stuff of 2025. I mean, Netflix dropped Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul a couple days into the new year on January 3rd, and I already watched it already, and I'll tell you right now, I'm going to delve more into it next week in the next Talking About the Movies episode, but, yeah, it's one of my favorite movies of the year already. I mean, the year is only 12 days old, and this is one that I feel like is going to be there at the end of the list, at the end of the year in my best of the year list for 2025, when we get to 1 year from now, but, what about the other movies that we have coming up? Starting with this week, we have some big new movies coming up that I'm looking forward to. And it's starting, like I said, this week with Wolfman, the new movie from Blumhouse, made by the same people who made The Invisible Man. Continuing the shared universe that they've been kind of building here with, the kind of, not really an official cinematic universe, but this is what we've been saying for many, many years with the Universal Monsters. Get the guys from Blumhouse to do it. And, yeah, this one is looking pretty much like a film that, I love The Invisible Man, and this feels like a film that's going to be right up there with The Invisible Man from the stuff that I've seen early on about this movie. You have a family man relocating his family from San Francisco to Oregon, and, they inherited his childhood home, left vacant following his estranged father's mysterious disappearance and presumed death. And at the farmhouse at night during a full moon, the family is attacked by a werewolf that claws Blake's arm. Blake being the family man here, played by Christopher Abbott. His wife is played by Julie Gardner. And they barricade themselves inside the home, but soon Blake begins to transform into something horrifying, jeopardizing the safety of his wife and daughter. Early word of mouth on this movie has actually been really, really good, but, yeah, there's been a couple of little times during the course of the the marketing for this, where I've been very, very skeptical. None more bigger than what they showed at Universal's Halloween Horror Nights back in August. And yeah, I'll be the first to tell you that did not look good at all. But hey, some people have said that that's not the actual Wolfman. That's actually some say that's actually the guy that will bite the main hero of the movie. We haven't really seen the Wolfman as of yet, but I think I saw somewhere that the Wolfman transformation was actually put out online. And yeah, I'm doing my best to keep away from that. I'm going to wait until we actually get to the actual Wolfman movie itself to see what this thing's going to look like. So I'm very, very excited to see this movie coming out this week. I'll definitely have a review for this coming up on this week's Talking About the Movies. That's one I'm definitely looking forward to a lot. Another one I'm actually kind of interested about is One of Them Days, which also comes out this weekend, starring Keke Palmer and SZA. And it's a buddy comedy where SZA plays a woman who her boyfriend takes her rent money, and so her and her roommate race against the clock to avoid eviction, keeping their friendship intact as well. They also have a cast that includes Vanessa Bell Calloway, Janelle James from Abbott Elementary, Laurel Howe, Gabrielle Dennis, Maud Apatow, Cat Williams is in here too. This is produced by Issa Rae. The trailers for it looked kind of promising, and I like these actors. I like Keke Palmer a lot. I like SZA's music a lot. I've actually seen her act in when they did the Beauty and the Beast live thing for ABC a couple years ago. She was Belle, and she was actually pretty good in that. So I'm cautiously optimistic about this one. I think it could actually be pretty fun watching these two working in this film. So I'm definitely kind of curious to check that one out. And as far as the rest of January goes, there's only one other... Actually, no, I take that back. There's two other movies that I'm looking forward to that come out at the end of the month. One of the big one is Dogman, which is based off, of course, of Dave Pilkey's characters from the Captain Underpants story. I loved the Captain Underpants movie that came out a couple years ago. It was one of my favorite children's books growing up. I was really excited to see what they would do with that, and I really love what they did with Captain Underpants. Unfortunately, the film was not a big hit overall. I'm not too much invested in Dogman overall, but it's got the same animation style. It's got the same kind of format I like from the Dave Pilkey stories that I read when I was a kid. So you have here a story about a human police officer and his dog getting injured together on the job, and a life-saving surgery changes the course of history when Dogman is born. Dogman must protect and serve as he dogly pursues the feline Petey the cat, played so far looking pretty brilliantly by Pete Davidson of all people, but the unexpected arrival of little Petey changes their dynamics. And yeah, it looks like it could be another winner for DreamWorks Animation. And some people have been saying that they're concerned that the film is not getting the best marketing campaign, which I don't know. I mean, they are just like with Den of Thieves. I mean, they're promoting it all over the place. They're promoting it all over on during football games. ESPN's been showing a lot of previews for it. So I think the marketing campaign for it is definitely there. It's just, I mean, the big question is, how big is it going to do in the month of January? Most family films don't usually do that well in the month of January, but we'll wait to see what happens. I'm really excited to see this one. Can't wait to check this one out at the end of the month. And also, I can't wait to see the new movie from the director of... okay, this isn't directed by the same guy who did Barbarian, Zach Cregger, but it's produced by him, Companion, which looks pretty interesting overall. They just premiered a new trailer for it this week, and I was looking at it, and I thought to myself, I like Barbarian, and this definitely feels like a film that could be just as chaotic and insane as that movie is. And if you don't know the story of this film, you have a billionaire's death setting off a chain of events for Iris and her friends during a weekend trip to his lakeside estate. And, Iris is this woman who you find out recently in this trailer that she's kind of like a sex bot, kind of. It's very weird. They're not giving you a clear indication of what's going on here, but it looks insane. It looks over the top. It looks like a ton of fun. It's one I can't wait to check out at the end of the month because I'm just really curious about it overall. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they do with Companion. Moving on to the month of February, we start off with a action comedy that actually looks really, really good and features two recent Academy Award winners. Love Hurts, with Ke Huy Quan, who won the Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Ariana DeBose, who won for West Side Story, starring in it. And, you have Ke Huy Quan starring as a successful realtor whose past as a violent hitman comes back to haunt him when his former partner, played by DeBose, reveals that his brother is hunting him. Daniel Wu is also in here too. Marshawn Lynch is in here. Rhys Darby, Sean Astin, Cam Gigadent. And this is made by the same people that made Nobody and Violent Night. So just on that alone, I'm really excited to see what they do with this. Plus, like I said, I've been saying before that Ariana DeBose needs to fire her agent because of bad movies she's picked out. This could be the turning point for her. Like, she has a way to maybe she'll have a way to maybe turn her career around if this movie ends up being as fun as I think it's going to be. I think it could be a really fun idea overall. An action Valentine's Day movie. Like, it's one I'm definitely looking forward to checking out on February 7th. Love Hurts. Of course, one of the big movies of the year I'm looking forward to, Captain America: Brave New World, where you have it's the continuation from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier movie, and it's this time, Thaddeus Ross has become President of the United States, now played by Harrison Ford, and Sam Wilson, now Captain America, finds himself at the center of an international incident and must work to stop the true masterminds behind it. Now, this is a film that has gotten a little bit of a mixed opinion from most people. Not even because of who's playing Captain America, but just because of everything else in between. Like a lot of the things going on behind the scenes. Some of the visual effects aren't that impressive looking for a lot of people. But then again, they have time to fix this. But I like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They got a lot of the same people who worked on that on this movie. The Captain America movies have been really good for them all the way through. I mean, the Chris Evans ones, the trilogy beforehand is great. I'm really excited to see what Anthony Mackie brings to the table in the leading role. Plus, I mean, the idea of Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk just seems like a pretty badass idea overall. So I'm just really excited to see what they do with it. I can't wait to check it out. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Captain America: Brave New World coming out on Valentine's Day. Let's see, what do we have next? Not much else in February except for the end of the month. Of course, obviously, the biggest new release at the end of the month is The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. Of course, with Warner Brothers passing this along to another studio, here's a chance to show everybody how much the Looney Tunes still mean to a lot of people. Due to a series of antics at the Bubblegum Factory, Daffy Duck and Porky Pig discover a secret alien plot to take over the Earth via mind control. The duo must work together to stop the aliens while trying to avoid driving each other insane. They team up with Petunia Pig, who's played here by Candy Milo, instead of I think it was Laura Jill Miller in the Looney Tunes cartoons, because this is made by the same people who did the Looney Tunes cartoons TV show. Even the director is the same person behind that. And the stuff I've seen from it has just looked amazing. The reviews have already been out for this movie. It's been very good. It's actually up for Oscar consideration this year because it started showing in theaters in the fall of 24. So it has a chance to get nominated for some Oscars. But I think the big question for everybody is, will this movie be a success overall at the box office? I'm hoping so. I'm hoping, as I think a lot of Looney Tunes fans, Warner Brothers animation fans in general, really want this movie to do very well. I know I'm going to be in the theater opening weekend to check this movie out. The Day the Earth Blew Up. I can't wait to check this out at the end of February. So now we're jumping into the month of March, and I think the first big thing that comes to mind, of course, for everybody is Bong Joon-ho's first movie since his Oscar-winning Parasite, Mickey 17, which stars Robert Pattinson as Mickey Barnes, who signs up to be an expendable, a disposable employee where after one iteration dies, a new body is regenerated with most of the memories intact. After one of his multiples, Mickey 17 unintentionally survives a human expedition to colonize the ice world Niflheim. He goes head-to-head with a new multiple, Mickey 18. This is based off of a book of the same name, and it also has a cast that includes Naomi Ackie from Blink Twice and Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody, Stephen Yen, Toni Collette, Mark Ruffalo, Holiday Granger, who I haven't seen in a long time. I really liked her in Cinderella and in The Finest Hours. I've been waiting to see what she's been in since then. I don't think I can't remember what else she was in, but it's been a while since I've seen her in some stuff. But the trailers for this look legitimately funny. The movie actually looks pretty good. I'm really excited to see what they do with this. It's been kind of in development. It's got moving around mostly because of the strikes, and then it was pushed back because last year. I can't remember what the reason why, but I know the strike was one of the reasons why it got pushed back from January 24 to now. So whatever comes out, I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out. Mickey 17 coming out on March 7th, and then trying to see what else we got here. March 20, I guess there's nothing else in particular on March 7th or March 14th, but March 21st, Snow White, and this is one that has been garnering a lot of controversies for, some might say stupid reasons in particular, but, I don't know, the dwarves look pretty bad in this, the CG dwarves look absolutely horrible, but Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, they're actresses I really like. It's directed by a director who I like too, Mark Webb. It's written by Greta Gerwig and Eric Christina Wilson. Greta Gerwig, of course, wrote Barbie. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be great overall, but my interest is still kind of piqued just because of the casting alone. But yeah, the stuff with the dwarfs look pretty bad, but everything else doesn't look too bad in particular. So I am cautiously optimistic about it. It's bordering on just kind of a little, it's not really anticipating it, but just on the cusp of being still on my most anticipated list. So I'm going to keep it in there anyway. Disney's Snow White. But also on March 21st, we have Alto Knights, Barry Levinson and Nicholas Pileggi's newest film, where you have Vito Genovese and Frank Costello, a dual role played by Robert De Niro, who are competing Italian-American mob bosses, and Genovese orders a hit on Costello. Costello survives but is wounded in the attempt and ultimately decides to retire from the mafia. And then you also have Deborah Messing, Catherine Narduzzi, and Cosmo Jarvis among the cast. And, Barry Levinson, it's been a while since he's made a big notable movie overall, so I'm really excited to see what he does with this. Nicholas Pileggi, of course, is the same man who gave us Goodfellas. He's written a lot of other good stuff in the past, so yeah, this is definitely one I'm very much looking forward to checking out. It comes out on March 21st. Hopefully we'll get a trailer for it soon. Also coming out on March 21st is another movie I've been kind of interested about because of it's Magazine Dreams, and it's because of Jonathan Majors, who, before the events that happened with his assault charges and all that, he was really looking like he was going to become the next big movie star, and after that, the assault charges went out. Everyone kind of pushed back on him a little bit here. You have a movie coming out it was originally supposed to come out by 20th Century Fox, but then they dropped the project, and so Briarcliff Entertainment picked it up. Magazine Dreams follows aspiring bodybuilder Killian Maddox, played by Majors, who struggles to find human connection in this exploration of celebrity and violence. Nothing deters him from his fiercely protected dreams of superstardom, not even the doctors who warn him of the permanent damage he causes to himself within his quest. And yeah, I'm definitely still looking forward to checking it out, mostly because I did like Jonathan Majors as an actor in Creed 3 and in Lovecraft Country, and I thought he was one of the best things about Quantumania overall. But yeah, I'm still looking forward to seeing what he does here. I think he's a rising actor. If he can get past the controversies that happened in the last 2 years, I think he can go back to being that great actor I think he can eventually become overall. But we'll wait to see what happens when the movie comes out on March 21st. And then on I think that's it for the month of March overall. I'm checking to see if April's got anything. We got the Minecraft movie, but I'm not looking forward to that. On April 11th, we have The Amateur, which I saw the trailer for it not too long ago. I wasn't really impressed by it overall, but I mean, it's got Rami Malek in it, and I liked him from Mr. Robot. He plays Charles Hellier, a CIA cryptographer who loses his wife in a London terrorist attack, and he realizes his bosses will not act due to conflicting internal priorities. Having blackmailed the agency to train him as a field operative, he embarks on a one-man mission to hunt down his wife's killers. The cast also includes Lawrence Fishburne, Rachel Brosnahan, Catriona Balfe, John Barenthal, Michael Stuhlbarg, Holt Mulcahy, Juliana Nicholson. Some recognizable names all across the board here. Like I said, the trailer didn't really impress me all that much, but I like the concept, I like the plot behind it, I like the actors involved in it overall. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what that works out to be, The Amateur. And then on April 18th, we've got Ryan Coogler's latest film, Sinners, which is the film that stars Michael B. Jordan in a dual role, and trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers, played by Jordan, return to their hometown to start again, only to discover an even greater threat is waiting for them to welcome them back. You have a cast that also includes Haley Steinfeld, Delroy Lindo, Jack O'Connell, Omar Benson Miller. This is directed by Ryan Coogler, who did Black Panther and Creed, who has not made a bad movie up to this point in his career. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does with this movie. The trailers for it have been very impressive to watch and look at. So I'm really excited to see what they bring to the table here. This comes out on April 18th, so I can't wait to check that out. And then finally on April 25th, we have The Accountant 2, which is the sequel that nobody was really asking for, but we're going to do it anyway because why not? It's got the same director and writer on that one from the first film, which I thought the first film was okay, nothing too spectacular, but you got Ben Affleck back in here too, and also John Barenthal, J.K. Simmons, and Cynthia Eddy Robinson are in here as well. It's been a while since I've seen the original Accountant movie, so I don't know if this is going to end up being good, but I'm kind of curious to check it out regardless. I like the first one, so we'll wait to see what happens with this one. The Accountant 2 coming out on April 25th. And I don't know if is this a theatrical release or an Amazon exclusive? Because okay, theatrically released, so it's going to come out in theaters on April 25th. So I'll be curious to check it out. So we finally get into the summer movie season next, starting on May 2nd with the second Marvel Cinematic Universe movie of the year, and that's Thunderbolts. We have a group of anti-heroes going on a mission for the American government. You have Yelena from Black Widow, Florence Pugh in this movie. You have her father, David Harbour's Red Guardian, Sebastian Stan, Bucky Barnes is back, Wyatt Russell from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Olga Kurylenko, Taskmaster, also from Black Widow. So this is kind of like somewhat of a sequel to Black Widow, because there's a lot of people from this movie in particular. But you also have Ava Starr Ghost, Hannah John Carmen back from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and you have Julia Louis-Dreyfus back as Valentina Allego de Fontaine, who's been in a lot of the other MCU movies, and mostly from, what was the first one she was in? I can't remember what it was. Was it Black Widow? It wasn't Black Widow, because it had to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's been a while since I've seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I'm definitely looking forward to checking this one out. I like the people they have involved with it. The first trailer didn't look too bad in particular, but I want to see more of it. I think we're going to get more from it after Captain America: Brave New World comes out, because I think that asterisk that's in front of the title, that's behind the title. I think they said it'll make sense once you see Captain America: Brave New World. So we'll just wait to see what happens there. But I'm curious to check it out regardless. And then on May 9th, there's a movie coming up that I know nothing about, but I'm kind of curious about. It's a movie called Golden, and it's a coming-of-age musical drama directed by Michel Gondry, but it also features Kelvin Harrison Jr., Halle Bailey, Divine Joy Randolph, Brian Tyree Henry, Quinita Brunson, Janelle Monáe, Tim Meadows, Missy Elliott, Andre 3000. And let me see if I can find a plot to this movie. It's got songs by Benjamin Justic Paul, the guys who did the music for La La Land. Am I even pronouncing that name correctly? Benj Pasek and Justin Paul. What the hell was I saying beforehand? Benj Pasek and Justin Paul. But the plot of this is that it's a musical inspired by Pharrell Williams' childhood in Virginia Beach. And if it's anything, it sounds very much like a different kind of musical biopic, kind of like Piece by Piece from last year. So if it's on that levels, this is something that could be very, very intriguing to watch overall. I'm really curious to see what happens when we get a trailer for this, but cast looks pretty promising, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they do with this, Golden. So moving on, we have Final Destination Bloodlines, which I finally watched the Final Destination movies not too long ago, and yeah, they're pretty much what you expect when you see movies like this, but they are pretty fun overall. So I'm very curious to see what they do with this new film, especially considering that this is the last film that Tony Todd will be the main character in that movie, William Bloodworth, because of course he passed away not too long ago, and the plot is very much unknown, but we're gonna see, more than likely, we're gonna see a bunch of people getting killed in bizarre ways, and it could be fun, it could be ridiculous, and it could be over the top, but it could be a lot of fun too. And another movie coming out on May 16th I got my eye on is Hurry Up Tomorrow, which is a film based off The Weeknd's sixth studio album of the same name. Of course, he stars in it with Jenna Ortega. You've got Barry Keoghan. And I know nothing about it. Just know it comes out on May 16th. And I love The Weeknd's music overall. The TV show he did, The Idol, was not a good show, but definitely very curious about this particular movie in particular, but it's directed by the same guy that did It Comes at Night, which I thought was really good. I thought it was actually a pretty good movie, so I'm very curious to see what happens with this film. It's marketed as a psychological thriller, so I guess we have to wait to see the trailer to see what happens with that one, but I'm kind of curious on that, just on the concept, just on the fact that it's The Weeknd alone. And then Memorial Day weekend, we've got Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, the second part of Dead Reckoning Part 2, which I guess part 1 is now just called Dead Reckoning, and of course this should be the continuation and the conclusion of the Mission Impossible series, but the continuation of Dead Reckoning Part 1. And let me see if I can get a plot synopsis here. Where is it? There's no plot synopsis for it, but like I said before, it's basically the conclusion of Dead Reckoning, and I think it is the last film in the Mission Impossible franchise. And I didn't like the last Mission Impossible movie as much as everybody else did. And I think they're starting to realize that, yeah, you know, the Mission Impossible series is they're getting to the point where if they don't find a way to find some new life to it pretty soon, it's going to go the way the Fast and Furious did, where they're just basically just redoing the same movie over and over again. So if this is the way it's going to go out, hopefully they go on a high note. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to checking that one out. Lilo and Stitch, the live-action remake, is coming out on May 23rd. This was, of course, the movie that was originally supposed to be released on Disney Plus, but then Disney realized they weren't making money off of Disney Plus, so with a movie like this, they put it up on the big screen. And you have this, and it's basically the same plot as Lilo and Stitch the movie, the original animated movie. It's got the same voice actor, Chris Sanders, returning for the film. You also have Zach Galifianakis as the voice of Dr. Jumbo Jukiba, Billy Magnuson as the voice of Pleakley, Tia Carrere, who played Nani in the original movie, playing Mrs. Kyoka. You have Courtney B. Vance playing Cobra Bubbles. You've got Hannah Waddingham as the Grand Councilwoman. This could be bad, but Stitch is my favorite Disney character of all time, and I just love the design of the CG Stitch. And if there's anything that's going to keep this movie from giving me some hope, it's two things. One is Stitch. Two is the director, Dean Fleischer Camp, who did Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which I just watched again because it just came out on Blu-ray from at Walmart, and I finally was able to get a copy of it, and I absolutely loved it, man. I thought it was a great, great movie. So I'm hoping that continues with this film right here. I think it's good. I'm hoping for the best. I know it's probably not going to be any good, but I just love the design of. I just love watching Stitch come to life like that. And it's Chris Sanders doing the voice. So yeah, I'm still looking forward to it, even though I know good and goddamn well it probably will not be as good as I'm hoping it will be. But nevertheless, I'm still looking forward to checking it out. And then on May 30th, we have Karate Kid Legends, which the trailer for it just came out a couple weeks ago. Of course, it's kind of a collaboration of both the 2010 Karate Kid movie with Jackie Chan as Mr. Han, and you have Ralph Macchio back as Daniel LaRusso, of course, from the original Karate Kid, which I think this is kind of a crossover between the 2010 Karate Kid and also Cobra Kai. And, you know, it's a very interesting concept overall, bringing these two together, and I'm kind of curious to see where the direction of it is going to go. The storyline is that you have a family tragedy that brings this kung fu prodigy uprooted from his home in Beijing and is forced to move into New York City with his mother. And this kid struggles to let go of the past as he tries to fit in with his new classmates. Although he doesn't want to fight, trouble seems to find him everywhere. And a new friend needs his help. Lee enters into a karate competition, but his skills alone aren't enough. So Lee's kung fu teacher, which is Mr. Han, Jackie Chan, enlists the original Karate Kid, Daniel LaRusso, for help, and Lee learns a new way to fight, merging their two styles into one for the ultimate martial arts showdown. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what they do with this. I think the 2010 Karate Kid movie was actually really good. It was a nice return to form for the Karate Kid series. And yeah, it got the horrible taste of Karate Kids 3 and 4 out of our mouths. So Cobra Kai has been a big success overall. So I'm very excited to see where they go along with this storyline. And it'd be very interesting to check out to see if they can find that magic again. So I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out on May 30th. And then last but not least, in the month of May, we have Mike Flanagan's latest film, The Life of Chuck, which is based off of a Stephen King story. You know, Mike Flanagan and Stephen King, if you're going to get somebody to adapt a Stephen King novel now, Mike Flanagan is your guy. He's one of the greatest horror directors we have out there, and you can't go wrong with a guy like him. This is a story, life-affirming, genre-bending story based off of Stephen King's novella about 3 chapters in the life of an ordinary man named Charles Krantz. Charles Krantz being played by Tom Hiddleston, but you also have Jacob Tremblay playing the younger version of him, Benjamin Pajak playing another young version of him, Cody Flanagan is another young version of him. You have Nick Offerman, Karen Gillan, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Mark Hamill, Mia Sara, Heather Langenkamp, Matthew Lillard, David Dastmalchian being all in this movie. So I'm very excited to see what they do with this. Mike Flanagan can usually do no wrong. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what they bring to the table with this film. The Life of Chuck coming out on May 30th. And June's looking like a packed month, too, starting off with From the World of John Wick, Ballerina, the spin-off of the John Wick series, which features Ana de Armas as Aide Marcaro, a ballerina assassin beginning to train in the assassin traditions of the Ruska Roma and setting out to exact revenge for her father's death. This takes place between the events of Chapter 3, Parabellum, and Chapter 4, and we see that Keanu Reeves is also in the film as well, as it takes place in between those movies. But you also have Angelica Houston, Gabriel Byrne, Lance Reddick, Catalina Sandira Moreno, Norman Reedus, Ian McShane, Just a strong, strong cast overall in this movie. Len Wiseman is a very mixed bag director. Like, he makes more misses than hits, but I like Live Free or Die Hard. Was not a fan of Total Recall, nor Underworld or Underworld Evolution. But hey, at least his wife is in this movie, so there is hope after all. There is hope for this, so I'm really excited to see what they bring to the table here. And of course, this is one of Lance Reddick in I think his last film appearance after his death in, what was it, last year he died, or was it last year or the year before? 2023. He died right before John Wick Chapter 3 came out. Or Chapter 4, excuse me. John Wick Chapter 4. But, yeah, I'm curious to see what they go along with this for Ballerina, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. Pixar's newest original film, Elio, comes out finally. It was supposed to come out last March, but they delayed it. Elio is a space fanatic with an active imagination and a huge alien obsession. So he's beamed up from to the Commuverse, an interplanetary organization with representatives from galaxies far and wide. Elio's all in for the epic undertaking. Mistakenly identified as Earth's leader, Elio must find new bonds and eccentric alien life forms, navigating a crisis of intergalactic proportions, and somehow discover who and where he is truly meant to be. And you got a cast that includes Zoe Saldana, Brad Garrett, Jamil. Directed by one of the directors is Domi Shi, who did Turning Red. I mean, there's a lot of things to like about this movie. It's an original concept from Pixar. You know, I'm hoping it finds success overall, and I really hope it does find success. And I can't wait. I'm going to be one of those people that definitely sees it on opening weekend. The other one, maybe not so much, but I'll bring it up anyway. How to Train Your Dragon. Yet another live-action adaptation of a Chris Sanders animated classic. But DreamWorks Animation getting in that Disney live-action money. And this time it's being directed by Dean DeBlau, who did the previous two How to Train Your Dragon movies. So there is at least that. At least they're getting people from the original movies working on this. So there's at least some hope there. But the plot of this is very much similar to the original How to Train Your Dragon. On the rugged Isle of Berk, where Vikings and dragons have been bitter enemies for generations, Hiccup, Horrendous Haddock III, the inventive yet overlooked son of Chief Stock the Vast, defies centuries of traditional dragon fighting practices where he befriends Toothless, a feared Night Fury dragon. Their unlikely bond reveals the true nature of dragons, challenging the very foundations of Viking society. And Universal is going all in on this. They put the trailer out in front of Wicked, and I mean, it could be. I mean, I've got some hope for it because I do like the way Toothless looks. I mean, Toothless does look like the same design from the animated movies, but I don't know, man. It just looks like a straightforward remake of the original film. I'm hoping that's not the case here, but it's looking that way. But like with Lilo and Stitch, I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt just because I love the character of Toothless. I love these movies. So I'm giving it the benefit of a doubt, but I know I'm probably going to be disappointed by it when it's all said and done. Then we've got 28 Years Later, the third installment of the 28 Days Later franchise, where it's now been 3 decades since the Rage virus escaped a medical research laboratory, and in a ruthlessly enforced quarantine, some have found ways to exist amidst the infected. One such group of survivors lives on a small island connected to the mainlands by a single, heavily defended causeway. When one of the group leaves the island on a mission into the dark heart of the mainland, they discover secrets, wonders, and horrors of the outside world. This is made by the same people who made the original 28 Days Later, Danny Boyle, Alex Garland. You have a cast that includes Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Ralph Fiennes, Jack O'Connell. So there is a lot of good talent all across the board here. This is actually the first part of 2 movies for this third film. The second one being 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, which supposedly is coming out next January, I think it is. January 16th, 2026. So yeah, next January. But curious to see where they go along with it. I thought the last 28 Days Later movie, 28 Weeks Later, was pretty good. Not as good as the first film, but be curious to see what they do when they bring back a lot of the original talent from the first film. Next up, we have Brad Pitt and Joseph Kosinski's latest film, F1. And in this movie, you have Brad Pitt playing a Formula One racing driver who raced in the 1990s, has a horrible crash, forcing him to retire from Formula One, and starts racing in other disciplines. A Formula One team owner and friend contacts Hayes and asks him to come out of retirement to mentor rookie protege Joshua Pierce for the Apex Grand Prix team. You have a cast that includes Kerry Condon, Javier Bardem, Jay Winningham, and like I said, directed by Joseph Kosinski, who did Top Gun Maverick, and also this is written by Aaron Kruger, who also worked on Top Gun Maverick, and so it could go either way. The one thing that has to be worried though is that it's an Apple original film, and if you've seen most of Apple's original films, you know that most of them are not. Most of them have not been very good. Only once in a while do you get a couple of really good ones, but even then, like most of them have there've been more misses than hits. So yeah, it's tough to really get a grasp on this one, but I'm still cautiously optimistic about it. And then I'm cautiously optimistic about Megan 2.0, the sequel to Megan, which was one of those silly, fun movies overall. Got a lot of the same people involved with that movie again, so very curious to see how that one's going to turn out. That comes out at the end of the month, June 27th, 2025. At the halfway mark of the year, we begin 4th of July weekend with the next film I'm looking forward to, Jurassic World Rebirth, which says, directed by Gareth Edwards, is supposed to start a new series of Jurassic World storylines, taking place 5 years after the events of Jurassic World Dominion. The planet's environment has shown itself to be mainly inhospitable to dinosaurs. The ones that are left live in remote equatorial regions with conditions similar to those in which they were formerly abundant. You have Scarlett Johansson as a skilled expert in clandestine operations, hired to work with a paleontologist played by Jonathan Bailey and team leader Duncan Kincaid played by Mahershala Ali on a top-secret mission to obtain genetic material from the three largest creatures in the world's tropical biosphere. This genetic material contains the key to a drug that will miraculously save human lives. Zora's operation crosses paths with a civilian family whose boating adventure was overturned by roving aquatic dinosaurs, leaving them all stranded on an island where they must confront a terrifying, ominous revelation that has been kept secret from the world for decades. So this is the continuation of the Jurassic World series. Not another film in the series, but a new trilogy, but a new movie, if you will. And Gareth Edwards is a director that does not usually do very much wrong. I mean, he's made a lot of very good movies. Monsters was very good. His Godzilla film was really good. Rogue One was a ton of fun. I like The Creator. So I'm definitely very interested to see where they go in this direction here. They've got the same writer from Jurassic Park working on this one, David Coep. So, yeah, everything about this does sound very promising overall. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they do with this on July 2nd. This one, I don't know if it's actually going to make it to theaters on 4th of July weekend, but I'll put it in there anyway. Trey Parker's newest film. It's a film that stars, it says here, the film will depict the past and present coming to a head when a young black man who is interning as a slave reenactor at a living history museum discovering that his white girlfriend's ancestors once owned his. And the film, I think, is in production. I could have sworn it said it was in production. Yeah, it says October it began production in Pomona, California. So I guess it is coming. I just don't know anything about it. But Trey Parker, of course, is the guy behind South Park. They usually do not do very much wrong. So yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very cautiously optimistic to see if how that works out. Assuming it does make it to theaters in time for 4th of July weekend. So we'll see what happens there. And then we get to probably the most anticipated movie of the year for me, and I think for a lot of people, and that is James Gunn's Superman. A chance to see, 3 years of developing this new future for the DC universe, and we get to see this as the launching pad for it. And you have David Corenswet as Clark Kent, and this explores Superman's journey to reconcile with his Kryptonian heritage, with his adoptive human family in Smallville, Kansas. You got Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. You have a lot of other characters being seen in this movie. Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho, Green Lantern's in the movie, Hawkgirl, Jimmy Olsen, of course, is in here. Eve Tessmacher, the engineer. Everything about this, the trailer for it looked really damn cool. I mean, the trailer looked amazing. The music, the score, the theme music for the film looks incredible. I'm literally wearing the t-shirt for Superman. Let me show you what I mean. Yeah, you see, I bought this t-shirt when after the trailer came out. This is from the DC shop, so yeah. Naturally, I'm very excited to see what they do with this. So yeah, I'm very excited to see this. I can't wait to check it out. It's my most anticipated movie for the year. Comes out on July 11th. I can't wait to check this puppy out. And by the way, speaking of puppies, Crypto the Super Dog is freaking adorable, and I hope he becomes the next big trend in Hollywood. And I hope he becomes the big thing we talk about in 2025, because he looked cute in that trailer, man. What more can you say about Crypto the Super Dog? Speaking of franchises that have a chance to kind of redeem themselves after a long period of time, how about the Smurfs? The Smurfs have a brand new animated movie that comes out this year, and it features Rihanna as the voice of Smurfette. You also have a cast that includes Nick Offerman, Natasha Lyonne, Dan Levy, Amy Sedaris, Nick Kroll, Octavia Spencer, Hannah Waddingham, Sandra Oh, Kurt Russell, John Goodman, Pam Brady, the writer of South Park the movie, is the writer for this. Chris Miller, the guy who worked on a lot of DreamWorks animated films, including the Puss in Boots movies, is working on this. Can they finally get the Smurfs right on the big screen? They've had 3 attempts to do it before, both live action and animated, and they failed to make it work. Is this the one that finally gets the job done? We find out on July 18th, and I hope it is. And then lastly, in July, we have the Fantastic Four, First Steps. The Marvel Cinematic Universe finally gets a chance to fix speaking of franchises that need a massive turnaround, the Fantastic Four. And everything has been looking pretty good so far in this film. This is a period piece movie on a 1960s-inspired retro-futuristic Earth. The Fantastic Four must protect their home from being devoured by the cosmic being Galactus and his enigmatic herald, the Silver Surfer. The new Fantastic Four features Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic, Vanessa Kirby as the Invisible Woman, Joseph Quinn as the Human Torch, Evan Moss-Baccarat as the Thing. You also have Galactus in here, Julie Garner as the Silver Surfer, and Robert Downey Jr. will make his first appearance as Doctor Doom in the post-credits sequence. Directed by Matt Shankman, who worked on WandaVision. Just really excited to see what they do with this. I can't wait for the full trailer to come out for this. I'm really excited to see this movie. I really hope that this series I really hope that Marvel gets this right, because, man, the Fantastic Four needs to get it right on the big screen. So, July will have 3 franchises who have been cast off into the dust: Superman, the Smurfs, and the Fantastic Four, with a chance to rectify themselves and put out some really good movies. Will it work? Only one way to find out. Bring on July. Jumping ahead to August, we have a remake I never thought was actually going to get off the ground. They've been talking about it for so many years, but it's apparently happening now. The Naked Gun is getting a reboot, and this time it features Liam Neeson in the role of Frank Drebin Jr. You also have Pamela Anderson, coming off of her success with The Last Showgirl, Paul Walter Hauser as Captain Ed Hawken, Kevin Durant, Danny Houston, Liza Koshy, CCH Pounder, Buster Rhymes. Produced by Seth MacFarlane, who also wrote the script, were part of the script. Akiva Schaffer, who did Chippendale Rescue Rangers, the movie, which was really good. Of course, he did Hot Rod. I'm cautiously optimistic about this one, mostly because of the fact that the Naked Gun trilogy is some of my favorite comedies of all time. So I'm really, really scared of where this is going to go, and hopefully they are making this the way that these spoof movies should be, and not just doing what the spoof movies have now essentially become. I'm putting a lot of faith and trust in this, because you're messing with one of my favorite series of all time. So, yeah, Seth MacFarlane, I'm watching you, man. I'm watching you. You better not screw this up. But anyway, it comes out on August 1st. Also coming out on August 1st, we have the sequel to The Bad Guys, The Bad Guys 2, in which 5 years after the events of the first film, the bad guys are struggling to find trust and acceptance in their newly minted lives as good guys, when they are pulled out of retirement and forced to do one last job by an all-female squad of criminals called the Bad Girls, who are fans of their earlier exploits. And The Bad Guys was one of the more fun surprises of 2022, so very much excited to see what they do here with this new film in particular. And yeah, definitely very excited to see where they go along with it. It's really something I'm really looking forward to checking out. And it could be another really good year for DreamWorks overall, because we've talked about a couple of movies that they've got in the works, and they've all looked pretty promising overall. So we'll wait to see what happens there. So moving on to August 15th, we've got Nobody 2, with Bob Odenkirk returning in the role from the sequel to the first film. A lot of the same people back from the first movie in particular. Nobody was one of those really fun little surprises that kind of came out of nowhere a couple of years ago. Came out during the pandemic. And yeah, definitely a movie I'm very much looking forward to seeing if they actually pull it off for the second time around. I mean, Bob Odenkirk can usually do no wrong, for the most part. I mean, he made a couple bad movies in the 2000s that I've talked about before, but this looks like it could be a ton of fun overall. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this one coming out on August 15th. And then that's actually it for the month of August. Moving into September, we have The Conjuring: Last Rites, the last film in the Conjuring series, with Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga back as Ed and Lorraine Warren. Most of the Conjuring movies I've actually liked overall. So there's been some spin-offs that have not been as good as they should have been, but most of them have been very enjoyable. The Conjuring movies overall have been very enjoyable too, so I'm very excited to see how this series comes to an end overall, if this actually is going to be the last one of the series. I sincerely doubt it, but we'll see what happens there. And then on September 19th, we have the Jordan Peele-produced Him, which is a sports horror film about an up-and-coming athlete going to train with a legend who is about to retire. And you have Marlon Wayans in the title role here. This is a film produced by Jordan Peele through his Monkey Paw Productions company, and just kind of curious to see where that goes from there. I don't know too much more about that one, but knowing Jordan Peele is probably going to have a really cool, distinctive visual feel to it. It's going to be much more creepier and fucked up than it should be. And then on September 26th, we've got Maggie Gyllenhaal's directorial debut with The Bride, which is a film that draws inspiration from The Bride of Frankenstein and also Mary Shelley's 1818 novel Frankenstein, with Jessie Buckley as Frankenstein's bride and Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster, Penelope Cruz, Peter Skarsgård, Annette Bening, Juliana Hough, Jake Gyllenhaal among the cast in here as well. They've tried to do a movie like this before in the 1980s with The Bride, which was the one with David Bowie and Jennifer Beals, which didn't work as a movie overall, and I think was largely forgotten for the most part. But I mean, if it's on it could be on that same level, could not be. But I'm kind of curious to see what Maggie Gyllenhaal could do with a little horror. Moving into the fall, of course, on October 3rd, we've got the long-awaited Michael Jackson biopic, Michael, directed by Antoine Fuqua. The still images they've shown of Michael Jackson look like Michael Jackson, but the one thing that's got me worried about this is the fact that, are they actually going to tell Michael Jackson's story, or are they just going to go down the same predictable biopic route? I feel like they're just going to go down that route, but then again, this is Antoine Fuqua. Antoine Fuqua doesn't make a lot of bad movies overall, so I'm cautiously optimistic about that one. So I'll wait to see how that one transpires. That comes out on October 3rd. And we'll see what happens there. And then on October 10th, we've got Tron Ares, the third installment of the Tron series, where you have Jared Leto as a highly sophisticated program who is sent from the digital world into the real world on a dangerous mission, marking humankind's first encounter with AI beings. And you also have Evan Peters, Jodie Turner-Smith, Cameron Monaghan, and Jeff Bridges in the cast as well. Directed by Yochin Ronin, who also did Kon-Tiki. He also was the director that did Young Woman in the Sea, which is a movie I really liked from last year. The music is being done by Nine Inch Nails. And, Hassan Minaj is also in the cast as well. We're looking forward to seeing what they do with it overall. The trailer they showed off at D23 didn't look that impressive overall, but I'll wait to see what happens on that one. The Black Phone 2, the sequel, comes out on October 17th. First one I thought was a very good movie, so I'm very curious to see what they do with this new one, especially with the same people they got from the first film back. That comes out on the 17th. Good Fortune, which has Aziz Ansari directing it in his feature debut, and it stars Keanu Reeves as a budget guardian angel who notices a man down on his luck, played by Ansari, who does odd jobs for a wealthy socialite, played by Seth Rogen. Once the man falls asleep in a booth at a Denny's restaurant, he hits rock bottom and subsequently has his car towed from the parking lot. Intervening in his plight, Gabriel tries to convince the man that being wealthy like Jeff would not solve his problems by swapping the two men's lives. So it's kind of like it's a body swap comedy in a way. Failing at this demonstration as the man's problems are solved by Jeff's wealth, Gabriel loses his wings and is sent down to Earth to live among humans when the man takes over Jeff's body and livelihood. Gabriel then becomes roommates with the displaced Jeff, and as the work he did as an angel begins to unravel around them. So it sounds like a really bizarre dark comedy, but it could be a very fun dark comedy overall. So I'm very curious to see how this one pans out. I mean, this could be really, really fun overall. And next up, we have Mortal Kombat 2, the sequel to the 2021 movie, which I thought was just okay. It wasn't the game-changing revitalization of the franchise that I think a lot of people were expecting it to be, but it did its job okay. So I'm curious to see what they do to up the ante with the second film in that series. And then, moving into November, we've got Predator Badlands, the next installment of the Predator franchise, which this one features Ellie Fanning, directed by Dan Trachtenberg, whose last film he did was the film Prey, which I thought that was a pretty good movie overall. So I'm very curious to see what they do with this new film. And this is also the first of two Predator movies that are coming out in 2025, directed by Dan Trachtenberg. But this is the one that's coming out in theaters on November the 7th. So I'm very curious to see where that one goes. We've got the remake of The Running Man, directed by Edgar Wright, starring Glenn Powell in the role of the character played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And this is set in 2025, where with a game show called The Running Man has people chased by murderous hunters across the world to win money. You also have Katie O'Brien from Love Lies Bleeding, and you also have Josh Brolin, Lee Pace, Michael Cera, William H. Macy, Sean Hayes, and Coleman Domingo among the cast in the film. So we just got news of Coleman Domingo's being added to the cast for this movie, which I don't think is bad overall, but it's not bad casting overall. I have a lot of respect for the actor, but the one thing I was really hoping for was that they get a game show host to play the host of The Running Man like they did with the first film. Like, you could have gotten Steve Harvey for that role. Like, if you got Richard Dawson in the last movie, you could have gotten Steve Martin, but then again, that's just me nitpicking, but I don't know. I mean, it could be alright. I mean, Edgar Wright directing it has me giving some hope for it, but I don't know. We'll wait to see on that one. Then, of course, we've got Wicked for Good coming out on the 21st, the sequel to Wicked, the second part of Wicked. So that's one I'm definitely looking forward to, since I like the first Wicked. And then at the end of the month, we have Zootopia 2, which hopefully will not go down the same route as Moana 2, and is actually a sequel and not just a movie that was originally a television series chopped up into an hour-and-a-half movie. One would hope that that's not going to be the case, but we will see. And thus we come into the month of December, and we've got Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which, yeah, the first movie wasn't that great overall, but, you know, a chance for them to expand on the storyline, hopefully build more up for them, and learn from their past mistakes. And, of course, everyone's looking forward to Avatar, Fire and Ash, the third installment of the series. We're finally getting an Avatar movie, and we don't have to wait more than 5 years for it. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of The Way of Water, but I'm hoping that they finally are able to advance the story along with this, and not just go on with the special effects and all that. And then the last one I'm looking forward to the most is the SpongeBob movie Search for SquarePants, the fourth SpongeBob SquarePants movie for the big screen, in which SpongeBob travels to the depths of the ocean to face off against the Flying Dutchman, played by Mark Hamill in this movie. With a lot of the same people behind the SpongeBob TV show involved here. Needless to say, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they do with this new film. So I'm really excited to see that coming out on December 19th of this year. And there you go. That is all the movies I'm looking forward to in the year of 2025. Of course, let me know your thoughts down below, what movies I'm missing here. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to recommendations and get on out of here. And once again, kind of a slow release week in terms of new releases. But there are a lot of catalog titles getting 4K debuts this week, and some nice looking packages in particular. Inglourious Basterds is getting a nice Arrow 4K release. Richard Pryor's JoJo Dancer Your Life is Calling, one of his more dramatic roles, is getting a Criterion Collection release this week. Chinatown is getting a 4K release this week, but I think it already got one with the Two Jakes a couple months ago actually, and it's one I've been wanting to get my hands on for a while now. But other than that, though, there's not really a whole lot in terms of new releases. Just a bunch of catalog titles. We have Romance and Cigarettes as well. And yeah, not a whole lot in terms of new releases in particular. But yeah, that's just but the real stuff doesn't come. The real good stuff doesn't come out until the next week. Because next week we have stuff like Here, which is one of those so bad it's good type of movies. Smile 2, The Substance, Last Voyage of the Demeter's getting a nice 4K release. That's not coming out though until the next week. But this week, not a whole lot in terms of recommendations. I think if I had to recommend something, Inglourious Basterds and also JoJo Dancer Your Life is Calling. So yeah, with all of that said, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Reviewing Network Live. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you want to see more videos like this and listen to more videos like this, please go ahead and hit the like button, the subscribe button, and check out the last episode I did where I talked about the best and worst TV shows of 2024. And hopefully next week we'll have some stories for you. We'll wait to see how much more this fire is going to consume much of the news stories this week. Hopefully we'll get something big, but with all that said, thank you so much for watching and listening, and I will see you guys next time. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, and until then, we are out.